synonyms can bring it home a little further. And so, two synonyms of rejection that I'm going to share with you is abandoned and deserted. Those are some synonyms for rejection. And so let's talk about some causes of rejection, because we're going to look at two things. We're going to look at some causes of rejection, things that cause us to deal with rejection, but we also going to look at the results of it. See, because the results is like the fruit of it, the things that you see as a direct result of whatever caused your rejection. And so, one of the causes of rejection, I'm just looking to see if I'm telling you, technology is something, and I didn't come in here and do some stuff, but amen. Let's continue. Some of the causes of rejection. Remember, as we've been talking about the teaching series on Sundays, it's time to prepare. One of the things that we talked about is some individuals' greatest demonic oppression started in the womb. And it's amazing because there's some things that we don't understand about the intricate details of the womb. But I think we have learned enough to realize that the baby inside the womb is able to sense stuff. It can sense stuff. That's why when a woman is pregnant, it's good that she has a good attitude and things of that nature, being constantly down, frustrated, and all that. The child can sense that, right? And so when you think about it, contemplated or attempted abortion. There are some individuals, I believe it's Fred Hammond, but don't quote me. But I definitely believe it's Fred Hammond. And he has shared his testimony of how his mother did not want him. And she tried to abort him, was going through the process and everything, but he was not aborted. And so you never know the type of traumatic effect that can have on a child. And we think because it's a baby, because it's a newborn, that, it don't really understand. It's so complex that we can't figure it out. But can you imagine surviving, knowing the story, but yet your mama wanted to get rid of you? That will cause a person to deal with rejection. When you think about it, unwanted conception. I've said it before, a lot of times people out here making babies and they wasn't trying to. They were just fulfilling the lust of their flesh. And the last thing they was thinking about was having a baby. And so, unwanted conception. And sometimes, if a person did not want a child, they may treat that child in a certain way. Because guess what? I didn't want you from Jump Street. And so you think about say a mother that has a child but never really wanted the child. That mother may not ever really bond with that child or connect to that child. I mean, even if they keep the child, okay, they feed you, they change your diaper, put clothes on you, but sometimes that affection is lacking. I can remember someone who just would never even embrace their child or caress their child or anything. And the truth is, they never wanted the child. They just, they wanted the man. Come on. And then Kiana, get the other microphone from Pastor James back there. Yeah, I see it's tripping and don't know why. It was or whatever. Come on.
I just found out yesterday that someone I would say close to me been on this earth. Yesterday was her birthday,
Mm-hmm.
and she's 33 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and her parents gave her away at birth. She was adopted at birth. I say parents. She had mother and a father.
Mm-hmm.
They were married,
Mm-hmm.
and they had two children older than her. And her sister is 11. They're 11 months apart, and they found each other through that genealogy, that thing. And I've been thinking about, imagine how she feel. You was the baby, and they gave you away.
And kept the first two children.
Yes.
Well, in situations like that, sometimes you dig a little deeper. It's probably something else going on. In a situation like that, I would, because it's always mommy's babies, but daddy's maybe.
Oh no, they were married.
Okay,
and
like somebody ain't stepped out.
They were married, and they both came to see her. They made that decision. They made the decision as a husband and wife.
Yeah, but the key is why.
Right. Now,
why?
I haven't got all the details, but they were like, they had a rough life. Oh, she was white, and he was black. They had a rough time finance, and they wanted a better life for her.
But they had two other children that they were raising.
Exactly. But they separated like not long after that. But I guess she gonna have to get some more detail. But
yeah, they separated after giving. There's some more stuff going on.
Right.
Trust and believe in that whole scenario. They come to a decision to give the child up. The husband and wife who had the child together, they give the child up. But shortly after that, they separate.
Sure, how much afterwards, but they're not together now because he has remarried.
Yeah, sometimes there's deeper issues going on. And y'all know there's people that will take their lives to the grave. There are people that will take their lives to the grave because telling the truth is going to expose them. And they don't want to be exposed. So they will hold on to the lies. But sometimes it can be evident in the mistreatment. So even if the child stayed in the home, that child could have possibly been mistreated differently from the other children.
I saw pictures of all three of the kids. They all look just alike. And they look just like their mother. I mean, they literally, her and her sister look like twins.
The kids, they look just like the mother.
Just like their mother.
Just like the mother. I think there's something else going on with the father.
I don't know. He came all the way up from Atlanta to meet her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it got to be some more, but I don't know more than that.
Right. Come on, Kiana.
Two things when you were talking about rejection. I will never forget I was a teenager. And it was a young woman. She had to be under 30, and she had 10 kids. This is when I was living in Riverview Terrace. And you would see the older one. You could see the difference in how she cared for her children. The oldest looked like they were more well taken care of than the youngest. Long story short, she hung herself. And the oldest one found her. And she left a note. She talked about their fathers and that rejection and her kids. And it's always been on my heart. I wonder what happened to them. Because you can't place 10 children together.
Yeah.
And then other side of rejection, I think about my father because he told me, and I don't know how true it is because I've heard varying stories, but from him, he said that they didn't want him. His parents didn't want him. And similar situation, I have an aunt younger than him, and he has siblings older than him, but he was the only one they didn't want. He said they put him in a trash can. This was what he told me. That's how he had that whole other family that he talked about and, really knew a totally different side of him than we did. And so when you think about that rejection, I don't know exactly what happened, but something happened. It explains a lot about him as a person, growing up, some of the decisions that he made, and then even later with me, because the very thing that you hated, you could possibly do to someone else,
Yep.
even though it was done to you.
Yep.
So it just people the as an adult, I came to the realization seriously that your parents are people that have kids.
Yeah.
I hate to, seriously, they are and they only been at that stage of life one time, and sometimes you just a casualty of their situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we want to say a parent and have all these things on what a parent's supposed to be, but for real, they just a person first that have children, and most people never planned to be a parent to begin with,
Exactly.
and never seen real parenting too. So now you got double whammies and triple whammies and other stuff going on. So yeah, it's deep and it's more prominent than we like to talk about.
Exactly. And then it becomes that generational cycle going from you begin to see a repeated history in the family bloodline. And you talking about rejection. I mean, it can I just recently just had a conversation with someone, and I said I'm going to be praying for you because he just discovered that he has 4 sisters, and he's in his 50s. He just discovered that he has 4 sisters. He said, but that's not it. I also just discovered that the man who I thought was my father is not my father. That's a lot to process. It's a lot to process. It is a lot to process. Because it can cause you to look at your mother a particular way, because your mother knew all this time. And so those unwanted conceptions, and sometimes kids, they can, you have conversations with your kids, and if you're honest with them, and you're not lying to them, I mean, they may find out that, this wasn't a planned situation, but here we are. And so another common cause of rejection is a child born with defects, including learning disabilities, physical disabilities, etc. Because oftentimes when you have a level of disability, it can sometimes cause you to realize that you are different from others. Put us in the school system. You may be in a different classroom, which may sometimes highlight your disability. If you have a physical disability, the sad part is people will look at you, but won't always say something to you. Especially if it's some, they may feel sorry for you or something, but also look at you like you don't really exist. I think about that movie with Cher years ago, and that boy, The Mask, and I can remember his face. And, you can imagine what he went through in life. And that's what people go through today, for real. They won't let you be in their inner circle. They won't let you be their friend. Because even when you look at it sometimes, I think about, my sister who has a disability, and she's very aware of the fact that she has a disability, but everybody that she hangs with has disabilities. She knows that she is different from all of us. And let me say this. She may have a disability, a learning disability, because hers isn't physical. But even with my sister, who is not my sister by blood, because I'm basically an only child by, my mother and father. But she was raised with us since she was how old? 2 years old. Never treated any different, always got the best of everything, the whole night, always there. But as she began to get older, there become questions, and she just knows she's not blood. And there's something that she feels about that. Because even if you're not rejected by those in the family, you can allow rejection that you have conjured up in your own mind based on your circumstances to cause you to reject those that have always been there for you. Come on.
And even when she found her biological brothers and sisters, and I remember they had a Thanksgiving dinner together, then they had Christmas dinner together, and then they rejected her. They don't deal with her anymore. And I mean, I can't imagine how that affected her.
Right. Because remember I say sometimes when you're dealing with rejection, you'll reject others as if they rejected you. With my sister, she rejected all of us. I mean, we were happy for her when she found her family. Come on now, because I mean, sometimes you just want that missing link. So it was something that was encouraged, happy for her in the whole 9 yards. But she didn't know how to have a balance. So she just cut us off. You know, I mean, y'all know people that's been around know she used to be here at the church. We have family gatherings and she don't even come anymore. You know, but she rejected us in her newfound joy for her blood family, but they ended up rejecting her. And so rejection is a beast. It's a beast. But those disabilities, those born with defects and learning disabilities and physical disabilities, they do deal with rejection. And that's why, you know, we got to be mindful how we treat people when we, you know, we understand things. I mean, I think about our precious David. Our David is precious. You know what I'm saying? David can be David. We know that. You know what I'm saying? Bum rush you the whole 9 yards. But the thing is like, I don't care what any kid. You don't ever want to just push them away and do things like that, be mean to kids. You know what I'm saying? You know, embrace them. You know, just embrace them. Because there comes a point in time when they realize themselves that they are different. It's almost like homeless people oftentimes can feel rejected. Because ask yourself, I mean, be honest with yourself. There's been times you ain't even want to look them in the eye. And they are humans. Sitting on the ground, looking however, but sometimes you see them and it's almost like you don't even want to make eye contact with them. And you think they don't recognize that? That's rejection. It's almost like I'm being rejected as a human being. I can't even be spoke to. Because sometimes the first thing is I don't want them to beg. I ain't got nothing. You know what I'm saying? We got to deal with the things that go through our mind, but we don't think about how what we do affects other people. Some of them are in them situations because they put themselves there, but some of them, you know, had experienced some things that shifted their life. I mean, the truth is, a lot of times most people are like a paycheck or two away from being homeless. But, yeah. Another cause of rejection is parents having favoritism with one of their children over the others. For example, we think about Joseph in the Bible, whose father had so much favoritism, and it says that Israel loved him more than the other brothers. And we know that there was 12 brothers altogether. He was one of the 12. And so you got this one child that's being treated special and some. I didn't like it with the mother, Jacob and Esau's mother. Cause the mother favored one child more than others, and when I think about that, it's like the father favored the boy who was the huntsman, and he was the one that's out there, and the other son was more inclined to do things in the home. So the one in the home was like the mother's favorite, while the huntsman one was the father's favorite, and that type of stuff causes problems. Now, one thing about it, when you have multiple kids, you love them all. You love them all. You may treat them different, but you love them all. And sometimes you treat them different because they have different needs. See, you got some children that may be more needy than others. But but you got to be mindful. I understand this one is more needy than the other one that seems very independent. But guess what? That one that's independent needs you too. But that favoritism causes problems. Causes people to feel like, what's wrong with me? Because you think about it, the father, all excited about this brother Joseph and give him the special coat. And here it is, and they've been there longer than him because Joseph was the baby. And sometimes just in the natural sense, the baby will need more attention than the older one. See, even with this rejection thing, we got to make sure we check ourselves too. We could be, somebody else may be doing something or showing favoritism, but we got to make sure that we check ourselves, because at the end of the day, Joseph did not do anything to his brothers. He didn't mistreat them. He didn't do anything to them. He just happened to be born, and there was too much favoritism shown. But that would definitely cause a person to deal with rejection. Another cause of rejection is a child born the wrong sex. For example, parents who wish for a boy but have a girl, or vice versa. I felt like this for a moment, not with me, but with the child that I carried. And I felt like this with my mother, with my daughter, because we got a family full of women. So, at first when they got pregnant, elder folks wasn't happy about it. It was some, words that were spoken, and then wasn't too much else spoken the entire time of the pregnancy. I'm just being honest. Until we got closer to the end of the child getting ready to be born. But she wanted the baby in my womb to be a boy. Real bad. Painted the room blue and everything. And when my baby was born, she was disappointed because it was a girl. You remember that, mother? Totally disappointed. So sometimes she wasn't the mother, though. I was the mother, even though she was like the mother for real for like 5 years while I was tripping. But you think about parents. Say a man that just want a son. I want a son. I want my namesake and all that. And he have a girl. And then he have another girl. And then he have another girl. And let's just say with the first girl he wanted a son so bad that he did everything with this girl like she was a boy. And sometimes, you got your girl out there, come on, let's do this basketball, let's do this, treating her like she's a boy, because that's what you really wanted. And so that underlying disappointment can cause you to do certain things, but the wrong sex. And it's like, and we know in the Bible, girl babies were not welcomed. It was a woman that was barren who wanted to have a child. Here's the key. She didn't just want any child. When she went to the Lord, she would go because she wanted a male child. Male births were celebrated. Girl births were not celebrated. And so, that can cause someone to deal with rejection. Guess what? Why you don't keep your room clean like your sister? Why is it that, you going to school, you just getting C's, but your sister, getting A's and B? What is going on with you? Why can't you be like your sister? That comparison causes rejection. And the child is not the one that's causing the doing that, but it's usually something that adults are doing or other people are doing that causes that type of rejection to come about. I could remember growing up, and I used to hate it because I was like naturally good in school. And I didn't have to study hard like a lot of people had to study hard and things of that nature. School just came very easy to me, despite all the stuff that I was doing. Because even one of my teachers could not understand in School Without Walls, because I know you're high all the time, but all you get is A's. I don't understand you and your little crew because, it just came easy. But I'll never forget my Aunt Susie used to say stuff to my cousins with comparing me and my grades to them. Some people, if they got a C, that was the best that they could do. As a parent, let me tell you something. With your children, if a C is the best that they can do, and you know that they are doing their best and really putting in all their effort, you have to be okay with that. Because everybody is not an A, B student. And if you got people that are struggling and doing all they can do, and this is the grade that they're getting, but you want to compare them to somebody else, don't do that. Because what you're saying to them is, I'm not good enough. You're looking at me and you're not pleased with me. Which is what? Rejection. Because again, rejection means not giving approval or acceptance. Here's another hard one. It causes people to deal with rejection. And that's being put up for adoption. Oftentimes, when children are put up for adoption and they are raised in these different homes and things of that nature, oftentimes you will find a lot of children that have a lot of challenges because they were put up for adoption. Sometimes their reason for being put up for adoption was literally the best thing for them, for some. You got something to say? Okay, pass that back.
I was going to say that as a child, well, being put into foster care, I know you and I talked about that a little bit. I think it was like from 1 to 4 for a little bit of growing up. I believe growing kind of like.
Wait a minute, you saying you were in the foster care
Yes.
from age 1 to 4?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, some of it's like kind of vague. And then having, I know my mom couldn't, it was some challenges for my mom to be able to take care of me. Mm-hmm. So being, in there from that age and not really remembering the time. And, then I kind of like was awake to realizing that my grandmother, had taken me in and such. And then shortly after, my brother's, father took him in, and then we took my younger brother in. It caused a lot of, feelings of what was wrong with me. Mm-hmm. Why didn't my mother, not want me? And then, as you were saying that, I was thinking about how, my grandma and my relationship is I love my grandmother. And I see the grace of it all, through God, how, with God, how God kept me in that time. And I think I recall, just me and my grandma's relationship in the very beginning of the year. It was very, very combative. I don't think it was a lot of resentment. It was a lot of my mother, from my grandmom. She resented a lot of her actions. She was going through her addiction. I was going through, my feelings of frustration in the early ages. And, you know, our relationship wasn't the best at this time, like it is. So, being being like kind of in your last point of saying, like, kind of being told how not compared, but felt like there was time that you were being like you're like your mom, or like there was like the conversations that were like said to me like, oh, you've been talking to your mom whenever we had problems. We were in communications, she would feel like, I would be talking about her to my mother, or my mom gave me these ideas and stuff like that. It was a lot at an early age, early age. So imagine younger than 10 being having these exchange.
Yeah.
So, it's like feeling like, okay, I got to be grateful that I was taken in, and then also being slandered, and because of my mother's action, it was a lot. So I'm
Yes.
kind of like, I see the God in it all. I see how God kept me through it all. Just finding out that we have, a fourth brother, in Wisconsin, reconnecting with him. I had to be like, he had the whole entire different family, and I'm grateful for God that we were able to reconnect. Do we stay in contact as much as I would like? Not as much, but I was able to get to know him and hit a little bit of where he come from. And I think of, how God carried him and having him have a family, but I also wonder his trauma, his what he had to go through of not being with us. Despite our trauma, what is
Right.
his trauma of not even knowing who his brothers were,
Right.
being all the way in Wisconsin, raised by people that are of white ethnicity, and he's black. You know what I mean? That's a big thing. So, it's God. God is. I just kind of just recounting and just saying how God is through a lot of the struggle. God is there. He keeps you. It's a way He just keeps you in His hand, in despite of. But,
And with that, one thing about, like you said, 1 to 4 in a home, then you get with family where your grandma gets you. You and your grandma may not have been on the greatest terms, and you may have been having some feelings that you did not know how to express. But again, the child in you wants your mother. You want to know, where is my mother? What was wrong with me? Even though here the thing is, that rejection affects you. And until you realize this rejection, that thing runs your whole life. Until you get to this place where you understand, okay, I know where it came in at. And I know that I've made so many decisions based off of that rejection that started when I was a child. Is the pain real? Yes. Is the effects of it real? Yes. Because even though you can have people that take good care of you, right? They could take good care of you and do what they got to do. And when you get older, you can change your thinking about it, like in your mom's situation, because it was best that she did not have you.
yeah.
Because of the lifestyle that she was living. You think about some of the places that you could have ended up if she kept you. And that's one of the
if
things.
my grandma didn't even take me.
Say that again.
If my grandma didn't take me.
Right. Even if, and like you said, if your grandma didn't,
Right.
come back and get you. But the thing is, as time goes on, you can release some of the anger that you may have towards your mother for not being there because you realize she needed help. She was messed up. But then you got some that have been put up for adoption, and unfortunately, sometimes people are in adoption situations, the people that run them, the homes, for the money. It's a money maker. And a lot of times they don't necessarily care for the children the greatest. So sometimes they still adopt it. Foster care, adoption, same thing. Listen to what I'm saying. You ain't with your parents. That's however it is. Even when people with their grandparents. Now, I always say this. I say, if your parents are living, if your mother is living and your father is living, and you live with your grandparents, something's wrong with your parents. Something's wrong with your parents. Because the way it is set up and should be is that parents raise their children. But if you got parents that are still on this earth, but your grandma raising you, you better believe something is off with your parents. But if you go into adoption or foster home and you experience some negative stuff in the foster home, that breeds even more anger. Number one, you're already angry for being there. You're angry because your parents aren't there. And then you will be angry towards your parents because you will blame them for what has taken place to you in those foster homes. All of this is coming from that old wicked spirit of rejection that can just, have so many different things that come from it. And one thing about it, a lot of kids that have been given up for adoption, you hear stories of people telling their stories, and even though they had a wonderful upbringing and the whole 9 yards, there's still that void. That's why many of them get to a certain age and they start looking for their parents. Now that we got Ancestry.com and stuff, it's making people, it's making it a lot easier. But some people just want to know where I come from. Who's my family? Who's my mother? Who's my father? Because every human being on this earth knows they have a mother and a father, even if you've never met them. You know you got a mother and a father. And there's a natural longing there for that mother and father, some understanding, that relationship. And sometimes because the mother and father that we have are so jacked up, they can't give us the love that we want even when we find them. And so, being put up for adoption. Some other causes of rejection is abandonment. And we can get abandoned in many different ways. When just left for whatever reason, cut off for whatever reason. That type of stuff causes rejection. Here's another one that most people don't even connect this. But another cause of rejection is death of one or both parents. As a child, you don't understand death, and it ain't even just as a child, even as an adult. People die, but guess what? You feel like you were abandoned. You may not know how to express it, but they're not here. Why did you have to die? You've heard people say, why did you leave me? That's abandonment. That's rejection. And the person had no control over them dying. I read a post the other day that just broke my heart. And the woman is a grown woman. And her father died. And then shortly after that, her mother died. And she was angry. And she was like, why did you leave me? Her mother didn't do that on purpose to hurt her, but the way she felt is, you left me That's rejection. That's abandonment. People can't pick when they're going to die. They have no control over it. And we got to learn how to process that thing right. We don't even realize that sometimes we go through life feeling abandoned, feeling rejected because our parent passed away. Come on, get a microphone to Anthony. Slide on over there or something, Anthony. They ain't got to keep trying to, go across Jerusalem to pass the mic.
Yeah, so my mother died when I was like, I think 6, and I was staying with my grandparents. But I think my situation, I think my rejection came from my father's side, but I feel like when my mother passed, what happened with me was I felt like I had to be stronger than I had to be because my grandparents took it harder than me because I was so young. I ain't realized what was going on. I just seen them upset, so I was like, man, y'all be all right, like, trying to comfort them. So it was like, I felt like I had to be stronger, I guess, in that sense than I was supposed to be. Like, I ain't never processed it. Like, I don't know, like, I ain't never really processed it. In general, like, I still don't think I never processed it. Like, I just became, like, numb to it for real, like, because I was always worried about how they would took it.
And so you said you felt like the rejection came from your father's side of the family because they did not step up to the plate?
Oh, nah, I felt rejection from him because his rejection was clear. Like, my father was locked up, and when he did come home, he just lied all the time. Like, yeah, I'm going to come over there, never came. I be waiting for him, never show up. The same stuff, but he was free. Like, he could have came over there. Like, he was still there, so it was clear why I would have rejection towards him.
Right, because, he didn't step up. He even in that situation, sometimes you think, okay, one of the parents have deceased, the other one should basically step up, but it just wasn't like that. So I'm sure your relationship with that side of the family, his side altogether was distant, right?
Yeah, until, like you said, I got older. When I came home from jail, I felt him, and then it still wasn't nothing. Like, he was just terrible place. He was in a terrible place. So I got tired of myself, and I just was like, man, I can't handle it, and I kind of abandoned him in a sense.
So growing up as a child without your parents, do you think that affected you, like your behaviors and stuff? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I personally feel like it did something. Like, I don't know what to identify with, because when my mother died, they put me in therapy for like 6 straight years. Like, I was in therapy for like 6 years, and then but I still was getting in trouble. Like, I still was like bad. Like, I always been bad. And then like you said, like, I ain't never like had problems in school. Like, I ain't never had bad grades, so I ain't deal with that. I just dealt with just straight anger. Like, I used to be reckless, like, anger wise. That was my issue. Like, and I got older. And I feel like now, looking at it like it was rejection, but like when you young, you don't process it like that. Like, you just feel like you mad.
Right, just mad. And again, we looking at some of the causes, the things that come. Anger. Some of the root causes of anger is rejection, and then one of the symptoms is that anger. That just, we're gonna look at all the symptoms, but. Like you say, you was a kid, but there was a lot that was going on. You was going to counseling. I don't know the depth of it and things of that nature, but there was just something that was brewing in you that was expressed in the behavior. I ain't know you. You went to school with Jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
Jasmine, my daughter, right?
Yeah.
When he came to the church, and I asked her questions about him. Do you remember him from school? She said, I remember one thing. She said, all I remember is Anthony was bad. She said, that's the only thing I remember. He was just known for just being bad as a kid. So she couldn't remember nothing else but that she didn't forget. But there was, like you said, when you're a kid, you just going through life just doing stuff, but you don't even know what's driving you. What's driving you. Some other causes of rejection is abuse, physical abuse, that verbal abuse, them words. And a lot of times with that verbal abuse comes some word curses that be spoken over your life. Nigga, you ain't never going to be nothing. You just like your mother. You just like your father. You know, and when somebody say that to you, and you know their view about your parent is negative, they're speaking negativity about you. That hurts. That hurts. But abuse, including physical, verbal, sexual abuse, emotional, and here it is, the withholding of love. When you got individuals that withhold love from you, withhold affectionate from you, that affects you. Sometimes you wonder if people have any level of emotion. Because it's hard to see any level of emotion. But if they grew up in a household where love was withheld, because guess what? Y'all better hear me clearly. People need more than just knowing you love them. I've heard people say, well, I knew they loved me. They never told me that they loved me. But I knew they loved me. People need to hear it. People need to feel it. Love needs to be expressed. A hug can go a long way. The holding your child's hand can go a long way. But if your mama withheld love, your daddy withheld love, your grandma withheld love, your grandpa withheld love, guess what? It's hard for you to love because of your upbringing. That rejection. This thing runs deep. It runs deep. Another common cause of rejection. This is a real one. Having a parent that has a mental illness. I remember growing up, I had a friend named Gina in Fairfax Village. And Gina's mother was the first person that I ever came in contact with that I saw mental illness. As a kid, right now I know what she had. As a kid, I didn't know what to call it, but I knew she would just be in that house. Her hair would be matted. She would be in that room talking to herself sometime and laughing, and then she'll, she can have a brief conversation with you, but then she'll zone out. I used to feel so bad for my friend Gina because even as old as she was, Gina had a problem with urinating on herself. So much stuff can affect you. I mean, and she wasn't a little 8-year-old or nothing. But when I think about her living in that household with that mother that had mental illness, Gina was a little promiscuous. And a lot of times that's one of the signs because you're looking for acceptance from somebody. You want to be loved. And, my thing is I just embraced her, as my friend. But I can only imagine living in that house because your mom is not even in a mental enough state to be able to deal with you as a mother because of the mental illness. I would ask my mother about her mother. Because, I mean, my grandmother is my grandmother, but I did a photo album one time, and it was like the grandma that doesn't talk and the grandma that always look old, because she looked old all my life to me from when I was a kid. She just looked old. But you could be around my grandma and she ain't going to talk. And I'm trying to figure out, how was that like growing up in a house with someone that don't really talk? And your memories of her speaking was always negative when she was throwing the dishes or breaking up housekeeping or whatever. But it's like they all went through some stuff. Her and all her siblings. I mean, you talking about a cold family. That could make you feel some type of way. Even with asking my mom, you know, I know my mama tells me that she loves me, but she ain't have that from mommy or daddy, and they both was in the house. I can't imagine that, but that's a lot of people's story. Come on, Jackie. So it's like you in there with someone with a mental illness, but they're just there.
I was going to say that's my father's story because my grandmother was schizophrenic,
And so was Gina's mother.
and he would basically she would have like different men every now and then, but she would have those moments where she would go off on him. She didn't recognize who he was, so he just started going outside. I mean, my father said he started going outside when he was 9, and he would just be outside, and like the street. That's really what raised him, because like being in the house with his mother was hard.
Yeah, yeah, definitely hard. And so he had no restrictions. He could do what he wanted to do because Gina could literally do what she wanted to do. And I can remember going to Waxed Detention Center, them girls in the jail, when we would go down there and do Bible study on the regular. Some of them girls liked being in the jail. Because you know what they said? They care about me. They was like, when I was at home, I thought I wanted to do what I wanted to do. They was like, if I got up to go to school, oh well. If I didn't, wasn't nothing going to happen. But she would, you know, the young lady was like, but in here, these people care about me. And here's the thing, they were doing their job. If they tell you to get up, you have to get up. If they tell you go to class, because you got to complete class, you got to go to class. Time to go take a shower. But the thing is, it was all in somebody showing them something. But with being in that house, Gina and her mother, there wasn't nothing going on in that house. And it just would freak me out to just see her mother sitting there talking to herself, just laughing and stuff. And it was just sad. But that, too, can be a common cause of rejection. And then peer rejection from your own friends, your own schoolmates, individuals your age that just don't want to connect with you at all. You can't hang with us. We're the cool kids, which really equated to we're the big sinners. We the big cut-ups and all that other stuff. You a goody two-shoe. You can't hang with us. But when you want to be with people and they don't want you to be with them, that's rejection. Turmoil in the home. Because, again, that turmoil in the home, it speaks volumes to children. They don't understand the details and stuff, but that expects them. And then sometime if you got mommy and daddy and they're fussing, and then they hear their name brought up in the conversation, now they're feeling like it's all their fault. You know, it's a mess. It's a mess. You doing something? Okay, you can get the mic. Pass him the mic. And then I got one more point, and then we done
I
for
was
tonight.
I was just gonna say rejection with friends in school. Um, I could remember. I think bullying in school, middle school, junior high school, high school. It I think middle school and junior high is when you're bullied. It has a big effect on you, feeling like you cannot um and it's like wanting to have a relationship with others and them not accepting you. When you're not getting it from home and then you're getting it rejected at school,
Mm-hmm.
and then I can just think of like high school as far as being like, okay, so I'm going to put on a persona. I feel like high school is where I became a whole new person. High school is where I started being more vocal. Instead of being, I wasn't a bully, but I thought being the loudest, being the person that was the loudest, being the person that would be more theatrical than you, and just but that's where I was that was an era of my years that I was very out there. And I thought that would get me, I wanted attention ultimately, and I wanted respect from others, and I wanted, because I wasn't getting that at home around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I think parents should be mindful when their kids are in school. Who they are around affects them,
Mm-hmm.
because if you're not getting it at home and then you're trying to get it at school and then you're not getting it at school, you're going to try to fit in at
Mm-hmm.
a certain point.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And oftentimes, the people that we try to fit in, when you're trying to fit in, you'll do whatever to fit in. You would do whatever to fit in and to be accepted. And so, the last common cause that I want to talk about is common cause of rejection is marriage rejection, unfaithfulness, and divorce. So many women for real are messed up today because of unfaithfulness that they've experienced in relationship after relationship after relationship after relationship. And rejection begins to cause you to respond a certain way, not trust, all type of stuff. But it's like that messes you up. You think about a marriage that you done made your vows, you put your all into it and things of that nature, and then it ends for whatever reason. Or you dating somebody you think is good and they just come out the blue say, I don't want this no more. And you confused because I thought we was good. But they like, I don't want it no more. But with women, what I do know for sure is that when you would deal with major rejection that comes directly from unfaithfulness to someone that you've given your heart to, then it often can bring its cousin insecurity, because oftentimes you now are looking at what the one you was with, the type of women they were with, or you're looking at yourself feeling like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me that you can't be satisfied with just me? What's wrong with me that you have to step outside of what we got? And then if it happens multiple times, and then if it happened with every single relationship you've ever been in, that thing affects you. Like my husband always said about my mother, and give Angelina the mic. He'd be like, do you really want to be married or what? He was like, because everything inside of you is like a repellent to men, so to say. But she'll tell you, she ain't never been in one relationship with a man didn't cheat. You think that stuff don't affect you? So sometimes you can have a hard exterior, but that comes from a place. A lot of times people want to say angry black women. Let's get to the root of why some stuff is there. Come on, Martin.
So it just makes me think about maybe you need to look at you to see why you keep choosing these type of people over and over and over again.
Because you want to be accepted. A lot of times when you deal with rejection, you want to be accepted.
But I mean, I still think back to like last week when Anthony said, once you know something is wrong, we can fix it. Okay,
Yes.
so now that we know that we suffer from this, and the third, well, okay, God help me to fix it.
Yes.
Because now I know what the issue is. And so now I don't have to keep doing the same thing that I was doing. What they say, insanity is doing the same thing, thinking you're going to get a different result. And also, I think about what Joyce Meyer said. You can't give something you don't have. So if you didn't have love growing up and you don't know what love is, you can't give what you don't have. What
You
don't-
can give it, because a lot of times you can know what you wanted and can extend it. See, because everybody that came from an unloving, you got some people that it's like, this is what I wanted. I didn't get it from my parents. So guess what? I'm going to totally shape them. That ain't everybody. Some people, it make them go hard to show love.
And I guess that comes from maturity. I mean, again, you can't just always keep blaming your parents for what you're doing right now. I mean, yeah, they did it. It's true. It's a fact. But, okay, you got to move on from it. You can't change the past. No, you don't want to be hurt. No, you don't want to be rejected. But it just comes a time that, come on, you gotta move from that.
That's right. You got to move from it. But if you've been like that for 40 years and you just now finding out at age 40 that this was rejection, and now you're saying, oh, my God, when I did this was all of this. I've been like this my whole life, never knowing that the root of all of this was rejection. See, sometimes if you don't know what you are seeing or doing is a direct result of the rejection, you will keep doing those things. And so if you don't find out till now that that's what this is, yeah, you got an opportunity to do some things different. But the truth is, most people's whole lives have been led by their rejection, especially when it started early, and they had no clue.
And then when
Pastor Mitchell, Jackie, and then folks, and then we done.
And so, which is why this teaching is needed and necessary, because again, if you don't know, you can't fix something that you don't know.
That's
but
right.
if somebody tells you in a loving way and you still refusing to accept it, then that's when you don't want to be free. You don't want to do what it takes to get you from that particular point. When somebody is telling you, I mean, you can lead a horse to water,
think about
but you
this.
can't.
Somebody can tell you, but just because somebody tell you something, that don't mean you believe it at that moment.
At that moment. But there comes a time that, again,
Hopefully.
Psalm 139, search me, Lord. Show me what's going on with me. You know, because you just, again, to me, you just can't keep blaming the other person.
Amen. Mitchell, then Jackie, and then folks, and we out.
Was it my turn? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. From a male perspective, I know you gave your example about women, but I think it could be a little complex when it comes to men being rejected, especially like in a committed relationship or something like that, because men don't really process it. You know, one thing about anytime a woman is hurt, or women and children, it's going to get that attention. It's going to get that, you know, when women are hurt, you know, they're going to talk about it. They're going to talk about it to their girlfriends, their mother, whoever. A lot of times with men, we just act out the wrong way. And we never really deal with it. You know, and then it's like an unspoken, it's never been, it could be something that's never been spoken to us as men, but it's something in us sometimes to say we ain't supposed to show no hurt or no weakness, especially if a female hurt us. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like, and I don't know where we get it from, but I know at times it just made me act out. It just made me sin harder. You
The
know,
signs of rejection.
right? But the hurt don't go away like that. We just become numb to it, and sweep it under the rug. But it's like I think it just don't really. There's no light that's shed on it really when it comes to men. We just deal with it, and it's just like it's kind of rough, and like men don't really express ourselves anyway. So when there's hurt, I mean any kind of hurt. It don't even have to be a relationship. It can be any kind of hurt. Your father wasn't there, your mother wasn't there, whatever the case may be. A lot of times we suppress that stuff. That's almost like our first go-to, suppress it. And it's something that it does kind of shape us in a sense. Until we get to a place where we can really, pull the covers off that stuff and really deal with it layer by layer, whether it's counseling or whatever the case may be. Sometimes stuff like that comes out when you are trying to get into a new relationship and you find yourself in marriage counseling or something like that, and you're really dealing with some stuff one-on-one. And a lot of times we are full-grown adult by the time we deal with stuff that happened back in when we were teenagers or something.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's really it's deep. That rejection is deep. It runs deep. Sometimes we don't even know where it started.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes we don't really know until it comes out later on in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Jackie and them folks, and we out.
I was gonna say, like for somebody that has dealt with rejection all their life since the womb, it's like you could forgive your parents, but you gotta pull down the strongholds. So there's gonna be situations as you grow, and even as you get to a certain age, and you go through life and deal with people, you're gonna have situations that's gonna trigger you, and it's gonna bring up things that you may have suppressed or you may not have been thinking about, or it's not on the forefront of your mind. So like pulling down the strongholds when those things do come up, because
Yes.
it's not just a I forgive and that's it.
Right.
Like, and you might have to forgive them again, like when something new comes up. So
Yes.
it's I don't want to say keep saying process, but dealing with rejection,
Yes.
if you dealt with it for so long, it is a real process.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't just happen right then and there when you say, I forgive them, this is it, because you could have a thought, and that thought will cause you to break down.
Yes. Yes.
And it could come out of nowhere, and sometimes you can't even really pinpoint exactly what triggered you.
Yeah.
It's like learning, because, like, if I went through life all my life seeing things through the lens of rejection, then this is normal to me. This is habitual. I'm doing this repeatedly without even thinking about it.
Exactly.
So changing my mind about it would mean casting down the thoughts and looking at the situation that I used to look at this way, and now I got to look at it in a whole nother way.
Yes.
And that don't happen all the time. Like, you mess up sometimes. So, like, just to kind of go off of what Angelita said, like, it's not just to forgive and that's it. Like, that's really a process, like, because it's gonna be things that's gonna come up that
Triggers.
simple things. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Come on. The mic is right there. It's behind you.
I just listening. Remember Miss Easley?
Yes.
And she told me, I mean, I had to be in my 20s. I would never forget. I could see her now vividly. She was an older lady. And she was walking. Remember that little dog? they had? You know, Miss Easley told me? She said, I'd rather deal with the dog than deal with a man.
And that came from a
That rejection.
rough place.
And with my son-in-law, he asked me something about, either what I was looking for in a man or what I needed. And I started naming stuff. And he said, you ain't looking for a husband. You're looking for a maintenance man. Somebody fix this, somebody do this, somebody do that. And then Khalil, he's 17 years old. And we were just talking, and something happened. And he said that's a woman thing or a girl thing. He said y'all be all over the place, telling how y'all feel, and somebody break your heart, all this stuff. He said, but ain't no man gonna be getting on no phone call to each other talking about what somebody did to them. And he said nobody taught him that.
Yeah, but what he's already learning is that when somebody break your heart, you just get into another one, and that's the problem.
Yeah, but I'm saying, based on what Pastor James just said, they
Yeah.
ain't that Philly thing. I mean, he said that's a man for you.
Yeah,
They
but
don't
they
be-
got to learn. That's why they got to learn that there's another way to handle things than the normal way that they've always handled it,
But it's like it's in them.
naturally.
Yeah, it's in them natural. That's what I'm saying. It's natural for him to even say he ain't even been through nothing.
Yeah.
It's just, and you hear about all the women that talk about women cheating. I mean, you don't hear men talking about the cheating women they dealt with.
Well, because the truth is, I'll say this, because a lot of times the average man cheat on them, they're going to roll out. See, they cheat on you, they want you to forgive them, different things of that nature. Cheat on them, they can't handle it. They can't handle it.
But you don't hear them talking about it. Like,
You ain't gonna hear him talk about it, because if she cheat, they out of there. When Mitchell had the one young lady that called, and the girl he was dealing with, and never answered phone, that was the last time he ever spoke to her. It wasn't no talking again, wasn't no trying to communicate. That was it. That was it.
and even with the rejection in my life, I'm good now. Right now, at this time in my life, Jesus got to stand up in front of me with the purple robe and show me his hands to tell me this is the man I want to marry. That's where I am today. I ain't fooling with it on my own. I'm not. I'm not doing it.
Amen. All right. Well, we have come to the end of tonight's Bible study. When we come back, now I'm going to deal with the results.